75 years have been quite extraordinary because I've seen a whole panorama of Indian development. I saw the British also. I remember my father's rule also here. I'm very grateful to the divine. वो तो मैं रोज अपनी पूजा में वही शिव जी महाराज का मत्था टेकता हूँ कि आपने इतनी देर मुझे रखा इस काम के लिए. बड़े दुखी हैं लोग आजकल, नौजवान घबराए हुए सारे हिंदुस्तान में, नौकरी नहीं मिलती, भटक रहे हैं. Basic Kashmiriyat, as we call it, which to my mind means the devotion of all castes, all classes, all religions. Jammu was feeling very neglected for many years. So one of the other things that I tried to do was to try and bring about some kind of regional balance. Militancy, of course, he does very badly. And it created havoc. Unreachable goals is to keep before young people. They give up their lives for those goals. What have we achieved?
5 years. Milestone step Dr. Karan Singh completed. How you are seeing this?
It's quite extraordinary, actually. It's a divine grace, I think. On 20th June 1949, my father, Maharaja Hari Singh Ji, signed the paper appointing me as regent. And I flew in on this very day as regent. For the first time in public life I started. I flew into Srinagar and was living in this very house. And these 75 years have been quite extraordinary because I've seen a whole panorama of Indian development. Remember, I'm older than the Republic, so I saw the British also. I remember my father's rule also here. And then from 1972 to this very election, I've seen every single election. I've met every single Prime Minister. It's been a great privilege and a joy for me to be able to be of some service to this great country. I've enjoyed every minute of it.
As a Sadr Riyasat of Jammu and Kashmir, yes, how the memories are surrounding in your mind?
You see, that was really in some ways a very interesting period because it was for the first time there was an elected Sadr Riyasat. And I had the privilege of being that. I was being the one and only Sadr Riyasat. Na mere pehle se koi hua, na mere baad koi hua. And that was a very critical time because the J&K constitution was being made, the Delhi agreement had been reached, and then there were some problems with Sheikh Abdullah and all. All of that came into this period. I had to go to Sheikh Abdullah Bakshi Ghulam Muhammad, then Shamsuddin Khwaja, and then Sadiq Saab, and then Qasim Saab. So I was interacting with all of these and trying my best to see that our basic Kashmiriyat, as we call it, which to my mind means the devotion of all castes, all classes, all religions. I remember when I was young, I used to go to Makhdoom Sahab, I used to go to Baba Rishi, I used to go to Chirare Sharif, Alamdar-e-Kashmir ke wahan. So this was the attitude there. There was never any communalism. At least we tried to keep it away, although that it had already hit the most of the country. But my effort was to keep Jammu and Kashmir balanced. Another thing, it is not only Kashmir, the state is Jammu and Kashmir. So Jammu was feeling very neglected for many years. So one of the other things that I tried to do was to try and bring about some kind of regional balance. So regional balance, maintaining peace and quiet in Kashmir, and successfully implementing the Delhi Agreement.
So as you mentioned the name, like the spiritual places, Makhdoom Sahab, Charishi, others, it indicates how our Sadr Riyasat was visionary, spiritually strong, and recently, if I'm not wrong, that Jammu and Kashmir, people of Jammu and Kashmir are living with composite culture. That's why recently people spent some joyful moments in Kheer Bhavani just 10 days ago. and Eid is still going on. And after a few days, Amarnath Yatra will be celebrated. After that, Muharram. So, do you think this is the unique place?
It is very
which has no
unique.
comparison across the
In
globe?
fact, with these beautiful Shankaracharya, Kheer Bhavani, Amarnath, there is Kashmir has always been a spiritual center. It started with the Buddhists, in fact, if you remember. First of all, the Shaivas, then the Buddhists, then the Shaiva revival, then the Sufis, then the coming of Shah Hamdan and his 700 followers, and how Kashmir took to Islam. I don't think Kashmir Valley took to Islam by the sword. It took to Islam because of Sufism, which is very unique because in many places it was implemented by the sword, and that left very deep scars, aaj tak. But that's why in Kashmir there's been this composite culture. एक जगह थी यहाँ आपको याद होगा, I don't remember which bridge it was, जहाँ ऊपर मस्जिद है और नीचे काली की आरती हो रही है, उसी बिल्डिंग में खड़काई मौला. So this composite culture, which really is whole of India's composite culture when you come to think of it, on a much larger scale. But we were always a model. And it's been a tragedy that that model was disrupted by the militants and then the horrible developments of 1989 and 90 and all the exodus and all is terrible. Luckily, I was not here at that time. I was in America, in fact, when this happened.
As a Sadr Riyasat, Dr. Karan Singh was the household name of people of Jammu and Kashmir. So, how do we see the things having changed at a large scale, whether it is hit by militancy or some political steps?
Militancy, of course, it does very badly. And it created havoc. Thousands of young people lost their lives. Villages after villages, you will have graves of young people, which is a tragedy. Because they were shown unreachable goals. The slogans themselves were unreachable. You know, हम क्या चाहते हैं पाकिस्तान पहले दिन, that finished. हम क्या चाहते हैं आज़ादी, that also finished. हम क्या चाहते हैं निज़ाम मुस्तफ़ा. You see, the question is unreachable goals to keep before young people. They give up their lives for those goals. What have we achieved? Except suffering, widespread suffering. And Kashmiri Muslims also, Kashmiri Pandits had a terrible time. Mass exodus. And, horrible suffering. So we've been through very difficult periods. Now I think things are beginning to settle down again. One very positive thing has been these elections, the parliamentary elections. They've been free and fair as far as one can see. Even here in J&K, the results were somewhat unexpected, but they were there. I mean, the heads of both the regional parties lost. National Conference and PDP. But that's the way politics is. It's a good sign.
Dr. Beyond the Sadr Riyasat, apart from that we heard, you spend a lot of specific time without any wages, without any salary in the Ambassador of the United States,
No, in
UNESCO, Education Commissioner, Chairman of Culture Relations, and President of the...
10 years when I was in Indira Gandhi's cabinet. That comes first. Because from here, from Sadr Riyasat, I became governor. Governor, I went straight as a cabinet minister. Those were the 10 years in which I did not draw any salary, nor lived in government accommodation. And then all the rest, of course, followed. And a lot of interesting and exciting ventures I had.
As I know a little bit thing about yourself, that you are very much art lover, cultural lover, and as we heard that you write a number of books and to contribute also about the Rumi Foundation. Tell us something about that Dr. Karan Singh is so spiritually art lover, cultural lover, and as per the cultural traditional point of view, Jammu Kashmir have its own importance. If even if not wrong, Jammu and Kashmir have 5 to 7,000 years of old age, rich cultural history.
Very rich, very rich. And I think that has helped me. There are two movements in which I have been involved. One is the interfaith movement. The interfaith movement is a movement which, if you remember, began in 1893 with the first Parliament of the World's Religions in Chicago, where Swami Vivekananda made such an impact. 1893. Then 1993 they revived it, and then they've had conferences and meetings around the world. I am part of a thing called the Temple of India Foundation. We are an interfaith organization. And इसमें भी करते ये है, we have mass prayers, collective prayers, we have lectures, we have seminars. We try and build spiritual harmony. Every religion has its own ideology, but the common thread is the acceptance of the divine. And in our view, the divine can take many forms. You cannot bind the divine down to only one form. I am a worshipper of Lord Shiva. That's the form I like of the divine. Some people may worship Krishna, some may worship the goddess. Some people may say, no, we don't want a form. Okay, fair enough. You don't want a form, you worship without a form. I tell my Muslim friends, Allah के 99 नाम है ना, हमारे आप समझिए ब्राह्मण के 99 फॉर्म है, यही फर्क है. आपके नाम है, हमारे फॉर्म. So this is just a different way of looking at the same thing. Whatever it is, there cannot be 20 different divinities for 20 different religions. So there must be some common divinity. What is that common divinity?
If I'm not wrong, we can say ways are different, but the achievement goal
Achieve वही है. Ekam sat vipraha bahuda vadanti. The Rigved says the truth is one, the wise call it by many names. That says it all. And that's something we've accepted. So the interfaith movement, it gets me across the world. The Rumi Foundation was set up by my good friend Muzaffar Ali,
filmmaker.
the filmmaker.
Yeah.
उन्हीं का था ये, फिर he wanted me to be chairman of the board, so I accepted. And we do the Khusro function every 2 years after Amir Khusro, who is a very remarkable Sufi, and जिनकी गज़लें वगैरह सब चलती हैं, छाप तिलक सब छीन ली तो सिर्फ नैना लगाई के. So we do that and we do other things. इस काम में मैं लगा रहता हूँ, मुझे शौक है. I'm interested in this.
Dr. Karan Singh right now is a stalwart in our country, so no one is parallel to you.
Well, I won't say that.
The southern Riyasat you have spent the time. After that, you saw a number of ups and downs. How you are seeing the scenario has been changing across the country, including Jammu and Kashmir, as per the historical point of view, as per the political point of view.
You see, change is constant. The only thing constant in this world is change. So nothing remains the same. As I said, I have seen changes from my father's rule. I've seen the British flag flying on Rashtrapati Bhavan. From there, I've seen all these changes. Every Prime Minister brings in his own or her own attitude and his own approach to various problems. So there's been constant changes. Kashmir, of course, Jammu and Kashmir has changed a lot in the sense that it is no longer now a state. It's a union territory. And that is something which I don't think is acceptable to most people, that we should have been reduced from the biggest state in India. In British times, J&K was the largest state in India. और सब कहते थे मुकुट है और ये है. अब वो मुकुट, अब we become union territory, even junior to Himachal Pradesh and Uttarakhand. So that has to be restored. And elections have to be held. These are the two things which I think shall happen and will happen. My own personal view is it would be better if we have the statehood and then elections, because then you'll have elections for a full-fledged state. Otherwise, you'll be electing really glorified municipal councillors in a union territory.
Sir, you left your so wonderful and positive footprints behind you. Do you think that footprints will definitely guide present generation of Jammu and Kashmir? You know the taste and mood of the people of Jammu and Kashmir.
I wouldn't make that claim. I can't say that people will necessarily follow my footsteps, but I've tried to lay down good standards wherever I've been. Standards of transparency, standards of integrity, and standards of commitment to the work. Each of these things that you mentioned were all done by me because of my interest. I was not drawing any salary, I wasn't not being paid for any of this, but I did it क्योंकि मुझे शौक है, और शौक पूरा करना ही बहुत बड़ी बात होती है. It's a big divine grace. So that I continue to do. If some people find that what I have done is positive, then if they follow it, I'd be very happy. But I don't want to claim that I'm some kind of a path bearer.
So how much you are personally happy that God gave you the 75 years?
I'm very grateful. Very grateful to the divine. वो तो मैं रोज अपनी पूजा में वही शिव जी महाराज का मत्था टेकता हूँ कि आपने इतनी देर मुझे रखा इस काम के लिए, और मैं अब भी करते जा रहा हूँ.